I'm ready.
All right. So, Helen, first off, where are you?
I'm in Manchester in the UK. Where are you?
Is it raining?
It is. Oh, I hate that you asked that question because it is raining, and Manchester's known, it's famous for its rain, and we've had a week of sun, and today it's raining. So yeah.
So, what was life like pre-freelance? What was pre-freelance Helen like, and how did it turn into freelance Helen?
Oh my goodness, that's an interesting question. Pre-freelance Helen worked at an agency in London, and was pretty miserable. She thought that's what she wanted to do. I really like my life dream was to move from the country, from Cornwall, where I brought up, to go to London and live and work in the city. And I achieved that dream, and I was miserable. So mostly because I was on somebody else's career ladder, and I didn't feel like I could ever. It wasn't using any of my skills. I felt like I was just sort of pigeonholed in this place where I felt very deeply uncomfortable. And I wanted to travel and see the world, so I quit and did that, and I went through South America, and then I landed in New Zealand, and that's where the freelance stuff started to happen very slowly. So I suppose there was a mix of predominantly in a career that didn't feel right, and then traveling the world.
That's awesome. And so, what exactly did it look like? So you quit, you go to South America, travel all around, but like, what happens? Do you email a bunch of people? Was there a project already? Like, how did it go from I have this idea to I'm now freelancing?
Okay, so all I wanted to do was what I loved, and I didn't know what that was. And I kind of felt like it was writing because I used to write all the time. I did an English degree. Writing was this thing I knew I could do, but I didn't know really how to get into it. So I had this blog, and I mean blog, because I updated it so infrequently. And I didn't really have that vision for what it looked like. But what actually happened was I got to New Zealand and I joined couchsurfing, which is, do you know about couchsurfing? It's this amazing community of people who give up their couch or a bed for travelers. And it's this beautiful community. And there was a social at an amazing Indian restaurant in Auckland. And I'm sitting on this really, really long table. And on the opposite side, about 4 people down, was a woman called Mariana Shimbari. And you can look her up. She is amazing. And I was like, oh my God, I follow you on Twitter, because she was this marketing person who was traveling the world, and I'd started following her because that's what I wanted to do. And we became really good friends, and she read my blog and was working for an agency, and she recommended me to her boss who was looking for a writer. And she was like, oh, you should try Helen, she can write. And I had a job in retail in New Zealand just for the year. And the next thing I know, I'm meeting her boss and then being paid a measly $30 an hour, because I had no idea how to price anything at that point, for writing stuff about like crazy inventions and things. And I needed to do something like 2 articles a fortnight, I think, 1 a week, I guess, or maybe 4 a month, I can't remember. Really, really effortless and easy. And that's how it started.
Awesome. And sort of, so walk us through from that time, right? The 4 months and the twice a week, to actually being a stable career path. Like, when did freelancing go from something that's cool and new and exciting to something you actually do?
Something viable.
Viable. Something that your parents are actually proud of.
They were very confused for a while. What do you do? You're blogging. What are you doing? They were very confused about it all. So I landed back in the UK, and I moved to Glasgow in Scotland and lived with my sister for a bit. And my old boss gave me some work that sort of kept me going. And I was meant to be doing sales. It was awful. But for the first 3 months that I did that, I had a bit of income coming in. I then went networking and said that I was a writer and a marketer, because my previous job was in marketing. And everybody said, oh, you do SEO, which is, I didn't have a clue how to do SEO. I still don't focus on SEO at all. So that was a little bit awkward. And honestly, Matt, it was 4 years, that was 2013. And I don't think things really started getting good until 2016, because I didn't understand the business of freelancing and what to do. And I was guessing at quite a lot of things. What eventually happened was I networked my ass off for those 3 years, and I made connections, kept putting myself out there, kept learning, and eventually got some of those people took a chance, I guess, and were looking for somebody who was not super senior, but not super junior. And I got some of those contracts, and it kind of grew from there. The big changes came when I realized that I didn't have to please people. I could, if I set boundaries and I got really clear about what work I loved and I enjoyed, that's when a brilliant transaction would happen. When I was able to go, this is what I'm really good at, or no, you don't need me, you need somebody else. That kind of conversation really lifted and changed freelancing for me and turned it into something really good.
That's So 4 years. So note to self, right? Takes at least 4 years. But so what?
It doesn't. It took me 4 years. I was very innocent about how to grow a business. And that's why I put so much into the freelance community now to help them not make the mistake, just jump over all of that stuff I had to go through.
So I'd love to dig into some of that difference, right? Like what did the delta look like? How do we quantify what changed from, making it to 4 years to actually doing it today? But before that, what does your freelance business look like today? For example, industry, infrastructure, clients, what does it look like?
Okay. I love so it's called Incredibble, after my surname, 2 B's. And our USP is that we connect you to a team of proven copywriters and manage the entire process from beginning to end. So we specialize in tech, and that has happened by accident, but it's a very happy accident. I live in an area where there's a lot of tech, and I just happen to have a few clients in that area, and we're good at it. We're really good at translating the complex into the simple. Ironically, niching has actually opened up other opportunities for us beyond that niche, which I'll come on to. So we look for tech businesses and marketing leaders with a mature marketing plan, a mature marketing outlook. So they kind of get content marketing. We do long form content and website copy. We do not do social. We don't do ads. So we take care of all that sort of B2B marketing collateral piece, from reports, white papers, a lot of articles. We might also do scripting for B2B videos or webinars and things like that. I'm probably missing out a whole lot of other things we're doing, brochures, things like that, all sorts. We tend not to work with single person businesses. That doesn't mean that is, if somebody comes to me, we have that conversation and we see if it fits. But we prefer somebody who's quite established and knows what they want.
Gotcha. And what does the engagement usually look like? Is there some patterns in terms of usually it's a 1 month project or maybe a 6 month project with a retainer, or just a retainer and continuous? What does an engagement with Incredibble look like?
Okay, so this is one of the things I learned, that we get to define that a little bit. So we can go to a company and say, this is the best way to engage us. And those brilliant marketing leaders really want to work with a company that shines. So when you're able to say, this is how it works best with us, that really helps them buy you. So we were sort of saying, so no, right now it's either a retainer that's a monthly agreement, and we would do a monthly set amount of articles. So maybe it's 3 or 4 is usually what people need and what people can handle if they've got quite a small team and they're outsourcing lots of stuff. So maybe 2 or 3 internally. Or if it's a project, come and do our website, or come and do this one report for us. So it's either those 2 most often.
Gotcha. So I kind of want to do a little bit of a mock of what I know you went through a couple of weeks ago in terms of one crazy project that came in. But I'd like to sort of name what happened, and then name how you got it started, because I think this is a scenario that most freelancers would honestly flounder, at least from what I've seen in my experience hiring and leading freelancers. So first, I'll give you the stage in terms of, you got an email on Monday and you already had a deliverable expected by Friday. But I'd love to hear about this and hear how you really got it started, because it's pretty incredible. So I'll just give you the stage on that one.
Okay. Can I just be sure that I'm talking about the same thing you're talking about?
Yeah. 3 white papers.
3, right, okay. So, yeah, the first thing we did was clarify exactly what it looked like. And it turns out that it wasn't 3 white papers. So that was a big difference. That was like, okay, all right, we know exactly what we're delivering now. It was talking, first of all, to the person and asking all those questions. So my biggest lesson in all of this is clarify the brief. Really, really digging into that. And this is why we love working with those leaders who know exactly what they want, and they're very clear about it, are not afraid to say, I don't know what I want, can you give me some guidance here? Or actually, we really want you to define this piece, and we want you, they know what they can do and they know what they can't do. That's brilliant. So we had a really good conversation. We had the budget conversation. That's another thing that needs to happen really early. And then it's a case of just, right, who's the team? Who's got capacity? Who are the best people for this? What do I need to pull together? This is what it looks like. I've got a spreadsheet that I just bung in. I'm able to go, right. These are all the hours it will take. This is the value, and this is, we just figure that one out. It comes in with a figure and we go, all right, where does this match up to the budget? Where it doesn't it? Take that, have a conversation. So in the case of 4 days from opportunity to agreement is now actually quite effortless. But that's also because that person didn't ask for a massive proposal and didn't expect us to deliver the moon on a stick in terms of graphics. And I've had that before. And is also open to somebody pushing back and saying, we physically can't do this, or it's not in your best interest to do it in this way. So yeah, does that lift the lid?
Yeah, no, and so for context, for the audience, I was asked, can you find someone that can do 3 white papers and start in a couple of days? And so I reached out to you and said, I don't know what's going on here, but this is an insane request. So for a takeaway, it's define and scope. I think hearing from an outside lens how you were really able to accept that project was the fact that instead of saying, yes, we can do everything, you clearly defined what needed to get done. And in fact, found that it wasn't exactly 3 white papers. It was actually only 1 white paper, but that's how the client thought, right? So the client thought 3, but they really didn't know. So you defined, and then you also scoped. So instead of just saying yes and kicking it down the curb, you were able to scope and say, based off this definition, this is the hours required, this is the time and materials required. And that's sort of the secret of Incredibble, right? And that what takes Incredibble from being one freelancer that's way over capacity and stuck in a roller coaster to being able to really, really give consistent outcomes. So on that path, what are some projects that you really, really, really are proud of? Like, what are some of the coolest projects that you've worked on with Incredibble?
Okay. So this is different from, there's 2 hats I could put on here. There's me as the head of Incredibble, and there's me as a writer. So head of Incredibble, working for one of the world's largest law firms, and going into an environment, because we don't work with law. It was a tech project within law, I think, yes, but we weren't aware that there's characters that, and law has a particular culture around it that we weren't familiar with. Going into that and delivering shit work and figuring out very quickly how to deal with stakeholders and what they needed, getting that relationship with our point of contact really, really quickly felt fantastic, and making sure that the team, there were a number of unknowns with that project, and making sure the team was protected in terms of nobody takes, this is a thing that can happen in freelancing. You don't budget right, you don't price right, you don't allocate your time right, and you can't go back in and have a conversation. Making sure they were protected in those terms and being able to have those good conversations meant that they had the time, they had the space to do brilliant creative work, ask all the right questions. They were able to establish a good relationship with the point of contact as well. And we have been invited back, I think, twice more to that company to do more work. So that has felt fantastic. Another example from me with a retained client, there's a retail tech consultancy that works for companies all around the world. And we have such a beautiful relationship with them that is just built on utter respect. We have really frank and open conversations. It's beautiful. And that's one of my favorite, just in terms of the rapport we've got going with that company. It feels really special, and it's a real privilege to work with them and show up for them. From a writing perspective, actually, one of my favorites has been for a little company based in the Northwest who do employee engagement. And it was probably one of the last ones I worked on, and that would have been 2017 or 2018 that I really got stuck into a project like this. And I worked directly with one of the senior leadership members. He was fantastic, and he was so passionate and so articulate. And that combination of working with somebody who you totally get and totally gets you was heaven. And I'm really proud of the work that I created on the back of that. Really powerful website copy that is holding its own today. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And so last question, I promise. So
okay.
What would you say to fellow freelancers are the keys to success? And I want it on 2 different levels. I want the key to success for a project and key to success for a career.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, let's start with the career, because that's, I think you come first, right? So your personal, you are the foundations of whatever project you do. For me, it's about being really honest with yourself about what success looks like. I had a wake-up call just a couple of days ago when I was pushing for something, and then somebody turned around and said to me, you know, you don't have to do that. And I was like, wow, okay, no, because I really don't want to. I want to build my business and grow it in this other way rather than pushing in a different direction. So get really flipping clear about what success looks like for you. And that is not necessarily being the sort of CEO freelancer, as you call it, you know, where you have other people working for you. That might not be right. Actually, you can make a fantastic career of this with really respectable fees that are up there, doing projects you love, and working with clients you love. You know, that is, just get clear about what it is. It might be time, it might be money, it might be creativity or expression. On a project basis, figure out what clients you want to work with, figure out your no-go zone in terms of who you want to work with and who you won't want to work with. Think about your day. Do you want to work, some people are really not morning people, and then they don't get going till 11. I love the mornings, as you know. So I work from about 7:30, but I want to finish at about 4:30. I take Fridays off. Define your day in terms of what it looks like, because that will determine the project and what that looks like. Be generous with the amount of time it's going to take you. Add on a contingency when you price. Get really flipping clear about that brief. And ask all the questions all the time. Have honest conversations with your client. Do not be afraid to walk away and say, this is not for me. I might not be the best writer for you is probably one of the most powerful things, or the best freelancer for you is probably one of the most powerful things you have in your freelancing arsenal. Just the knowledge that there is so much abundance out there in terms of work that you don't have to take the thing that feels a bit shit. You can really dig in for something great. And I think that relationship's really clear agreements and contracts, how you're going to communicate, as well as how you're going to price and charge, and when that money's coming in. Always get to know who's paying your bills. Always ask. Always figure that out. I think that's everything.
Awesome. And I lied. There's one more long question. What are some resources and tools? And we'll start with resources and tools. What are some resources freelancers can also turn to, whether it's blogs, books, leaders, you name it?
Okay, so if you are a copywriter, I'm going to plug myself here, Matt, shameless plug. If you are a copywriter, I have a free ebook called Charge Your Worth, and I have a 8-week program called Kickstart, which is about helping you make it as a copywriter once and for all. And that is a blend of coaching and online learning that really helps you establish those things that I didn't have a clue about in those first 4 years, and sort of really helps you move forward. Beyond that, there's loads of resources out there I suppose I'm really focused on copywriting, so that's where I found most of my resources. But there's something called Pro Copywriters in the UK, which is a brilliant alliance of commercial writers, and they have fantastic resources. I would always recommend that you get yourself some sort of business coach or mentor, because it's really helped me. And actually from a different industry can be really useful, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was quite innocent going into all this, wasn't particularly commercially savvy. So figuring out that stuff is quite useful. I'm going to mention some books, because I love a book. Company of One, Paul Jarvis, is fantastic, and I think is essential reading for a freelancer, just to open your eyes in terms of what's possible. For women who are freelancing, read Playing Big by Tara Moore. It's a beautiful book, and it helps you step into being brilliant. I think that's pretty cool.
Awesome. And is there any tools you recommend? So maybe back-end accounting or time tracking, or any tools that are really essential to your business?
Yes, well, we're waiting for, the dream tool. There is a dream tool that will take away all my pains. We use a combination of Google Sheets at the moment, and we use QuickBooks, and I use Asana. But ideally, there would be a system that sort of brought all that together. You need to, if you're becoming the CEO freelancer, tracking capacity is pretty important, and tracking billing is pretty important. So any tool that does that is going to help you. I certainly don't feel that a Google Sheet and QuickBooks goes far enough. And I think tools like Upwork are a little stilted in terms of how they look after the freelancer and the team. It doesn't feel like it's personal enough for me to use those things. So yeah, there is definitely can I mention it? Can I talk about
Sure.
That's my dream. That's what I want. I want Venture L. And that I can see how that is going to help us, and I be able to have that immediate snapshot of what everyone is doing, what they're working on, who has capacity, who doesn't, manage billing, all the stuff that is causing me pain and heartache, mainly because it's admin heavy and I'm a creative. But yeah, I hope that helps.
We won't cut that out, I promise.
Thanks.
Okay, ready? Two lightning questions, and you kind of answered a little bit. I know, I'm killing you.
Okay.
Favorite book?
Favorite book?
Favorite book. You only pick one? It doesn't have to be business. It can be whatever you want.
Favorite book ever. Oh, favorite book ever. Time Traveler's Wife was amazing. Mama's Vacation. Because, well, I know we can't have one. No, Playing Big is genuinely my favorite at the moment. I can't have one. Like, you can't ask a writer to choose.
You can say two. You can say two or three.
Like
we'll
that.
give you two or
That's
three.
just a mean question.
2 or 3. You have 2 or 3. Go.
Okay, playing Big's in there.
Okay. Playing Big. Okay, there's one. We're back to one.
Okay, I'm going to say Time Traveler's Wife. Just a beautiful book. Fiction. Company of One, I've already mentioned that. Fascinate by Sally Hogshead is a book for branding. I'd look at that too. That's it. What's your next question?
So Playing Big, Company One, Time Traveler's Wife. Okay.
Yeah.
Boom. Last one. Favorite animal. This one's much easier.
Oh, cat. Every time. Cat.
Okay, sweet. Helen, thank you so much.